There's heartbreak in the wrestling world as CM Punk appeared to suffer a significant triceps injury at this point in Royal Rumble against Drew McIntyre. And in this video, we're going to take a look at how exactly this injury happened and the anatomy of what's going on. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Dr. Brian Sutterer, and my goal in this channel is to teach you about the medical side of the sports world. Now, I know I don't do a lot of wrestling content, but pretty big story here with CM Punk injuring his triceps. The triceps rupture is not something that we really, I don't think I've ever talked about on the channel. So let's dive into what happened here to get a better understanding of this injury. For those wondering why I don't cover more wrestling, simply it's hard to know what's a real injury and what's just part of the act, so to speak. Because I'll be honest, when I heard about this news with CM Punk, but then watched the sequence against Cody Rhodes back, we see here almost at the very end of the fight where Punk is actually doing a pretty legitimate push-up. Now, to of course do a push-up, that's going to require extension of that upper extremity. The injury was on Punk's right triceps, and so if we look here at his right arm, you see in this position the elbow is flexed, and then in order to do a push-up, lift himself up off the canvas, he has to activate that tricep to get some degree of elbow extension to let him push back up. And so I saw this and my first reaction was, boy, unless we see a clear moment where that tricep ruptured, this honestly might be something that is just part of a storyline. I will say, looking back in hindsight, maybe there is a little bit of a depression there, a little bit of decreased contour and flattening where the triceps tendon inserts from the backside of the upper arm down onto the elbow. But when I saw this, my first thought was, man, that would be really hard to do if somebody's had a complete triceps rupture. Now, if you've had just a high-grade partial tear where there's still some tendon intact, this is going to be really painful, but probably still doable. He doesn't seem to be compensating much onto his left side. And so I was really shocked to see what he was able to do against Cody Rhodes, despite having already suffered this significant triceps injury. Of course, tonight, though, we see Punk come out wearing appropriately a sling on that right arm. I couldn't quite tell if he's in some sort of a splint. We might put somebody in a posterior splint that just is a rigid slab on this backside of the elbow just to help support things until having a surgery. But it seems pretty apparent now that, yes, this does seem to have been a real injury. Next, we're going to walk through the sequence where the injury I think occurred, but first I want to give a quick shout out to the sponsor of this video. This video is sponsored by Geology. Geology is a 29-time award-winning skin, hair, and body care company with products centered around a handful of key ingredients that have been proven and trusted by dermatologists for decades. When you just try and shop at the store, skincare seems like a huge gamble and it's extremely confusing, but Geology is going to take that confusion out of the process by helping design personalized programs just for you. And their skincare products have become part of my daily routine. I start my day off with an everyday face wash followed by a vital morning face cream. Then at night, I repeat the face wash followed by a nourishing eye cream and a repairing overnight eye cream. They're simple and effective, and more importantly, take the guessing game out of taking care of your skin. For a very limited time, use code DrBrian100 to get 100% off your personalized skincare routine. That's right, they're giving you a trial set of their 29-time award-winning skincare routine. All you have to do is cover $4.95 for shipping. This is hands down one of the best deals out there and won't be around for a long time. But it doesn't stop there, because they're also going to give you up to 30% off an add-on skin, hair, or body care product when you add it on to your trial set. Geology isn't just the best in the skincare game, because they've also released a handful of fantastic body wash products, hair wash products that I've really enjoyed using, particularly their hair co-wash and some of their great deodorants. So take advantage of this great offer today and do something to not only step up, but also simplify your skincare routine. Thank you again to Geology for sponsoring today's video, and let's get back to our learning. So this was the part of Royal Rumble against Drew McIntyre where supposedly this injury occurred, and I believe it based on what we see. Remember that tendons typically rupture whenever they are eccentrically loaded. So for example, a triceps tendon, typical mechanism is going to be doing an overhead press where your arms come back down behind you. So when your elbow flexes over your head, that's stretching the triceps tendon on the back of your triceps, coming down and inserting on this bump called the olecranon. And then as you're going down, you're still trying to fire the triceps to slow that descent. And then as you start to push back up, you concentrically activate that triceps after it's been stretched, leading to higher risk of a rupture. Whenever we look this play through here, what we'll see is Punk goes down and lands with a lot of his weight coming down on a flexed or a bent right elbow. So quick camera change here from this back angle. Then as we go over to the side, we see that he's landing with that elbow flexed. So he's landing with that elbow flexed. And whenever this occurs, he's going to just reflexively try and fire that triceps to stabilize his fall. If he doesn't fire his tricep to try and help brace some of that fall, his head's going to continue going into the canvas. And so it's just this reflexive activation of his triceps. And if we play this through really slow, remember when tendons rupture, we usually see some sort of a defect, a bulge, something like that. And they don't necessarily see a clear snap, But right here, you see how there's this little prominent point. If we go back up a little bit, everything looks nice and flat. And then as he puts more weight down, we see this little prominence. And it does look like there's been some subtle flattening right there where the triceps tendon is going to insert. Again, as he's rolling over, we see that sharp peak right there, suggestive that there's some tendon that's retracted higher up near the shoulder where the triceps originates. And then as Punk rolls over, we see him right away grab at that spot of the upper arm where the triceps is going to insert. So I would very much believe, seeing everything now, looking back here at this in slow-mo, that this was probably the moment where his tricep ruptured. He's trying to brace his fall. As he braces his fall right there, the elbow comes down. Triceps is going to fire to try and support, to try and brace him, but there's nowhere for the elbow to extend, so it's trying to fire against a rigid elbow. That activation causes force to go through the triceps tendon, and there was probably some tendonitis. There was probably some chronic wear and tear on that tendon beforehand, making it weaker. And then we see a little bit of that peak there, a little bit of that bulge as he eventually rolls over, suggesting the tendon has snapped. Now, if we go to our digital anatomy tool, of course, let's talk about our triceps anatomy. Here we are focused on the backside of the right upper extremity. We've got our rotator cuff muscles. We can hide those. We can hide our trapezius. Let's rotate around here. We've got subscapularis, supraspinatus, and so we'll hide those. And then focused here on the backside is the triceps. Tri meaning three. And so there are three heads to the triceps muscle. You have the lateral head sitting more here on the outside, the long head that comes up and it actually originates on the scapula down here on the inferior portion of the glenoid, the socket. And then you also have the medial head. All three of those muscle heads come together to form a common tendon. And that common tendon then comes down and inserts on the backside of the elbow at this prominence here called the olecranon. The olecranon is that bump you feel in the back of your elbow. That's actually part of the ulna, which goes down into your forearm. So if you think about that position, when Punk landed, his elbow is flexed, so the forearm is up this way. That's going to put a little bit of stretch, a little bit of tension on his triceps. And then as he falls, he tries to brace his fall. That triceps is going to fire, activating, but that tendon is not able to actually pull because the elbow is stuck against the canvas, leading to a tearing of that tendon. And then what we see was some recoil of that tendon going higher up into the back of his arm. Surgery for something like this, assuming it is at the tendon, is going to be to basically anchor that tendon back down into the bone. And because you're anchoring a tendon back into the bone, it's a very long rehab. Definitely something that we would not see him back in time for WrestleMania. Now, nothing that should be career ending, of course. This is, yes, a functional muscle with the triceps, but it's not like you're dealing with a big ligament, a big joint injury. So if Punk wants to, we should still be able to see him come back to the wrestling ring. I think it's also possible here with this that it was just initially a high grade like partial tear where there might have been some still fibers hanging on intact. There can be some selective tearing where maybe the long head or the lateral head pull off their part of the tendon, but the other remains intact. So he would have still functionally been able to do a push-up, but then you find out based on the severity, you still need to do surgery. So I suspect it was probably more of that initially, more of a partial tear that allowed him to still have some function, but it's still significant enough that probably needs an operation. So that's it for the video, everybody. Hope this was interesting. Let me know, as always, any questions or comments down below. If you guys want to see more wrestling content, let me know. I'll do my best to try and piece through what's real and what's made up, as hard as that may be. But anyways, thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.